the National Legends Cars Championship in association with Park Lane Cars. Hello and a very warm welcome along to the opening programme of the 2022 National Legends Cars Championship. A full grid of cars ready to take to the Oulton Park circuit here in Cheshire. 15 programmes coming up for you this year. The calendar looks like this. Following Oulton, we go to Brands Hatch, then it's Pembrey in South Wales, back to Brands Hatch in June, before another Welsh visit, North Wales and the island of Anglesey in June, followed by Donington Park, Snetterton. If you're cold in November, come to Brands Hatch. The Legends cars will provide some hot action for sure. Down in the paddock, ready to set the scene, is Barry.
So here we are at Oulton Park. Now, the surname Higgins is synonymous with motorsport in general. First of all, Mark Higgins, you and I have keep bumping into each other over the years. I think the last time was when you won the Rallycross Championship. But obviously a multiple champion. Many years ago, you and I were at Pembrey and you were doing the Legends cars. And I always remember you said to me, more smiles per mile probably than any other championship.
Yeah, definitely. I had a great time when we drove the Legend quite a few years ago now, but I've driven quite a lot of cars through my career, and jumping into one of these is just great fun. You know, it's close wheel, great tracks, and a great little championship, and that's why it was a good starting point for my son.
Great, and if we move on to Ben, so Ben, always great to see new faces on the grid. Now, you are one of about 3 or 4 of next generation drivers, shall we say. First of all, obviously, you've come into Legends. How have you found it with regards to testing and getting used to the vehicle so far?
Well, I mean, it's very different, especially from kart and what we've been in. These cars are awesome. They're quite difficult to drive. They're quite full-on and hands-on, but it's lovely. It's awesome to drive. I mean, I've been really enjoying it, and me and Dad really enjoy coming out and doing it, so yeah, it's great.
Now, you've been around, you've done the qualifying here at Oulton Park. Oulton Park's a beautiful circuit to look at. What's it like to drive around?
It's quite long, to be honest. It's a long circuit. I mean, it's great. You've got everything on it, tight corners, chicanes, long corners. It's just, yeah, it's great. It's a great circuit, and I've really enjoyed it so far.
What's it like having your dad here? I'm assuming that's a lot of help, but does that sort of put pressure on you sometimes?
No, I'd like to think that it doesn't really put too much pressure on. I mean, it's quite relaxed. I mean, we come out here, it's just kind of quite fun and relaxed, because we're not, at the moment, because we're just starting, we're not trying to get right up to the front. It's just, yeah, it's quite chilled out, so yeah, we're enjoying it.
You're born into one of the most successful families motorsport-wise. I suppose you've got to clear your head from that when you're on the grid and just take it under your own merit, really.
Yeah, just kind of, I think when you're in the seat, you know, everything just goes, you just forget about everything, just go out. But no, it's awesome to be a part of the family, really, and everything that we've done and everything that's going on, so.
And this reverse grid format, it's great for entertaining to watch, but that's going to make you more nervous as you go nearer the front, isn't it, really, with all these hardened, experienced people behind you?
Yeah. I mean, getting into it, because we haven't done it for long, I mean, getting up to the front, I mean, it'll be quite scary, won't it? But no, it should be great fun.
Matt Isherwood on the front row with Robin Fountain, Miles Rudman and Mark Beattie on row 2, Nathan Anthony and Chris Brockhurst on the third row. Remember, rookies start in their own group at the back until they've completed 6 race finishes. Reverse grid racing, grid by ballot. We're getting ready to race here at Oulton Park. Listen to this wonderful sound. And as they head down into Old Hall for the first time, it's Matt Isherwood leading, Mark Beattie around the outside of defending champion Miles Rudman. The field seem to have made it through safe and sound as they go down through Cascades for the first time, in car or on board. And we got a sideways car. There was that John Mickle going sideways. We were momentarily on board with Steve Whiteleg, but the race leaders, Miles Rudman at the moment, chasing Matt Isherwood, in car with Jack Parker. Chris Brockhurst immediately ahead. Jack Parker slingshots around the outside. He's coming through on Island Bend. Robin Fountain in the orange and white 31. and Jack goes to the outside. Now this is a banked corner, and Jack Parker using his circuit knowledge there, and the banking goes round the outside of Robin Fountain. Robin, the 2000 champion, came back a couple of seasons ago. A massive field of competitive legends. Talking about competitive, there's Andy Bird in number 30, the reigning rookie champion, highest placed rookie champion I think that we've had for a long time. Coming up to Hilltop, the gradients in this place are amazing. Look at that, you can see uphill. So they go into the chicane for the first time. Nathan Anthony in the 29 Savan, still a unique Legends car, that one, a unique shape. And Nathan running strongly behind Miles Rudman. And it's still Matt Isherwood, local man. Oh, there's Daniel Pooley, one of the rookies, who's got a problem, sadly. Good to see Daniel on the grid, but problems for him. Hopefully he'll get them sorted out in time for race 2. Isherwood the leader, Miles Rudman with the number 1 in second position, then Nathan Anthony. Marcus Pett is 4th in the gunmetal car. And it's Mark Beattie coming under pressure from Jack Parker, and Jack slingshots down the inside. Great move at Lodge Corner on the inside. Beattie giving him racing room as well through Deer Leap. So back uphill, up across the start-finish line. They'll tick off lap number 1 of the 2022 racing season and head down into Old Hall once again, the first corner on the track, and then downhill. So many undulations on this track. Wonderful circuit to race Legends cars. 55 also coming back to the championship is Lee Fitzpatrick, the former champion. And Lee, a team car this year. We'll talk more about that later on, as Paul Simmons in 51 comes under pressure from Andy Bird. So Andy making good progress through the field. Robin Fountain dicing with John Mickle. Steve Whiteleg in the red WTBS car in the mix as well, and looking on the outside as they go through the Shell Oils hairpin. So it is 51. Paul Simmons about to be chased by Andy Bird. Now Andy's got a left-hander here, but gets the position made on Paul Simmons before they get into the Britain chicane. So great stuff by Andy Bird. Clean racing again from Paul Simmons, former Masters champion in the Legends. Down behind them, Lee Fitzpatrick. Steve Whiteleg looking back at multi-champion John Mickle. John chased by Robin Fountain, who I think tagged the back of John Mickle's car. Mickle goes around in the quick steel 4 car. Manages to recover quite quickly, but he will be ruining that because that's a couple of places lost. Chris Needham side by side with Lee Fitzpatrick as we come up the hill. Chris, one of a number of ex-supercar racers. Andy Bird, a supercar to Daniel Clark. And Matt Isherwood, the race, well, I was going to say race leader. It's Miles Rudman out front now. Marcus Pett up into 3rd. Nathan Anthony under pressure from Jack Parker, who goes through on the inside. So Parker at Lodge Corner up into 4th. Nathan Anthony still showing. What a great shot that is, looking back from Jack Parker's car. Anthony's going to repay the compliment by the look of it and head down the inside into turn 1. There's a bit of a squeeze between the two. Parker goes wide. Anthony to the apex. The Savan is back in 4th place. Classic Legends racing here. So many passes that you get in a race. The crowd's loving the racing as ever. So once again, Jack Parker has got all the work to do, and that's what you're capable of doing in Legends cars, is racing, passing and repassing. It's racing by definition. I've said it before, I make no apology for saying it again. Back out front though, Matt Isherwood, local man from Mould in Cheshire, leading this one. Miles Rudman in 2nd. Marcus Pett really on form here in 3rd place. Out of Shell Oils they go, the lead trio. Waved yellow flag going on for something there. We've still got Nathan Anthony ahead of Jack Parker, so those two have traded places. Miles Rudman trying to get on terms with the race leader. They all ride the curbs just a little bit up to Hilltop again. Next to await them at the bottom of the hill is the chicane, Hislop chicane. And now Jack Parker looks to have a look down the inside. There's space there, but he hasn't got the momentum. That was good stuff from Nathan Anthony. Confident wide line into the chicane from Nathan. Didn't look like he was under pressure at all. And that's optimised his run through the chicane. And out now up Clay Hill. He's still got Jack Parker with him. And now, is that what the yellow was out for? It's Will Gibson. 3rd in the championship last year. Will, one of the front runners in Legends cars, is out of his car. It looks damaged. I don't know what's happened there. Now the race leaders, they're going to be greeted by yellow flags there at the very least. Side by side now as Marcus Pett goes through. Is it me or is Miles Rudman looking a bit off colour? No disrespect to the man who's just taken second position. Oh, we've got more cars off. Is that the cause of the yellows as well? Paul Simmons and Chris Needham again. Chris, a relatively local driver from Altrincham in the 99 car. Those two have maybe tangled. Here's the replay. In car with Kieran Beattie in the Park Lane car. Oh! So there was a tag, 2 cars spinning. Kieran gets his machine through on the inside. Here we are with Chris Needham. Tags the back end of the 51 car. They both go around. And look at the speed at which those cars go through, and also the speed at which they react and go through. Problems too for Daniel Clark, the former champion. 2020 champion Daniel Clark. Wow. What a kick-off to not the way some drivers wanted it. There is Will Gibson's car. To my mind, that should be a safety car. It may well be. It's quite a long lap here, so the officials have a fair amount of time to react, to instruct the marshals what to do. And if you recall, on the previous lap, the yellows were already out, so the marshals were already on the case in terms of that. But they'll want to get that cleared up. There's Andy Bird trying to make his way through the mix. Andy having started in 18th place and climbing up through the field very well indeed. So we have got the safety car now officially being scrambled onto the track. It's going to be good news for the chasing pack of the lead trio, that they'll be able to close the gap down, but it will somewhat, after the recovery, I think, truncate the length of the race. So the cars want to race. They don't really want to be under safety car. They want everything to be safe as far as driver and potentially damaged car are concerned. And certainly where Will Gibson's car, well, you see it there, it's not in a safe place. So the best decision by the officials to deploy the safety car and get the 57 car move. Started 19th on the grid. He'll start P4 for race 2, assuming they get that back out. Here's what happened. We're in car with Chris Needham, and if you look ahead, there's a bit of smoke there. I think there was contact, and Will goes into the barrier. That's why we've got the safety car out, and we'll have the resumption of racing for you in a moment. The lights are out on the safety car. The field led by Matt Isherwood, and he is dropping back. He's pacing this as he wants to off the front. In car with Jack Parker once again, looking up at Nathan Anthony, who's worked hard so far for that 4th position. Chris Brockhurst is behind Jack Parker, then Steve Whiteleg in the 66. Steve sporting Sports Urban Bible liveries this weekend, or stickers on the car, so hopefully some exposure there for Steve, which would be good. Green flag, we're racing again here at Oulton Park, and hopefully it will be a conclusion, because it's the last lap on this one. Andy Bird's got a new lap record so far, so well done to Andy. Somebody might beat it in this one, but it's more of a standing start, isn't it? So that's likely to stand, as Jack Parker trying to go on the outside of the first part of the run down the hill here. That tees up onto the inside. Chris Brockhurst not quite close enough to follow through. And a spin, that's Lee Fitzpatrick off into the gravel. Fitzpatrick finds himself the former champion. It's always a baptism of fire when you come back. We were looking at Mark Beattie about to be passed there, the Gosforth man, but out front it's Matt Isherwood. Hasn't won a Legends race yet, let's not forget that. Under pressure from Marcus Pett. There in 21 is Sean Smith, 44 is Charlie Budd, and Andy Bird right behind them, the new lap record holder. John Nichols busy chasing as well. Bird on the back of that group. Nichols recovered well from his spin earlier on. You need that kind of luck in a championship for sure. On board with Charlie Budd. Sean Smith, the runner-up in the championship to Miles Rudman in 2019. Down from Hilltop into Hislops they go again, and Marcus Pett is putting big pressure on Matt Isherwood. Here comes Jack Parker as well. Miles Rudman is in 4th place. Parker, what can he do here? Across to the right of the circuit they go, under the footbridge, coming up towards Druids. Jack Parker looks like he's got great pace here in the 13 car. Darts to the outside. Marcus Pett still there at the moment, and it is Matt Isherwood. I tell you what, Matt will be nervous about this, potentially his first win, and Marcus Pett's going for the outside as they come up into Lodge Corner. Is he going to be able to get this? No, he can't. Jack Parker saw the open door and goes straight to 2nd place and clatters into Marcus Pett. Marcus Pett, who was on that outside line, is moved across. Nathan Anthony goes through ahead of him, but there's the checker. Isherwood grabs his first ever Legends Cars win. Here's a replay where Marcus Pett was on the outside when he was trying to put the move on the race leader. It didn't work for him, and Jack Parker went up the inside. That will be discussed, I have no doubt, at much length. But what won't be discussed, but will be celebrated, is the win, the first ever Legends Cars win for Matt Isherwood. Albeit from pole, he held on, held his nerve. That's great. Jack Parker second, Miles Rubman third from Nathan Anthony and John Mickle. Chris Brockhurst next from Marcus Pett, Steve Whiteleg, Sean Smith and Charlie Budd. Then it was Andy Bird, new lap record for him, ahead of Mark Beattie, Ollie Schlupp, the top rookie. Kieran Beattie 14th from Ben Higgins and Robin Fountain. Nick Bridgman 17th from Luke Simmons and Mike Schlupp. The top 20 completed by Chris Needham. The other finishers, Tom Brown, John T. Norman, Paul Simmons, Bill Reid, James Newbury, Lee Fitzpatrick and Gary Whiteleg.
Now that's got to feel good. That was a good win.
Yeah, it was great. You know, it's my first win in car racing. Coming into my fourth meeting now, so really getting to grips with the car and the setup, and building up the confidence and all that kind of stuff. And I knew starting from pole that I just had to try and build a gap from the main pack behind. And me and Miles Rubman worked pretty hard to do that.
Second place, a well-deserved position there, but that's his first championship contender place.
Yeah, it's a good start. Hopefully we can keep go on from here and carry on a good weekend. We're a bit further back in the next one, so hopefully we can come through and have a good race again.
Podium under your belt, got to feel good.
Yeah, it wasn't the result I was looking for, but it was a good result. We did have a bit of a misfire throughout the race, but managed to bring it home and get a podium. But no, it was a good race, and yeah, so hopefully we can go on better in the next one.
So start of the season, and with not only two drivers but title sponsors of the whole series, Park Lane Cars. So Mark, let's come to you first. We met pre-season. It's going to be a busy one.
It certainly is, and it's kicked off that way this morning. I think there's been a little bit of damage and a little bit of carnage, but we've both had some good results this morning already, so it's a good start.
Now, all this wouldn't be possible, certainly the TV side, if it wasn't for a title sponsor, Park Lane Cars. Just tell us a little bit more about the business and what you do.
Yeah, we're a used car dealership in Newcastle upon Tyne, so we stock between 100 130 cars, but a variety. We try and cover for everybody, just to make sure that we we don't miss anybody, basically. But we've got good after sales, we've got workshop facilities, and we've just had a body shop built as well. So. And we've got everything on one site, but obviously the way that the world works now, everything's internet based, and we work countrywide, nationwide, which is why we thought this was a good thing to do, to get the name splashed around and make it possible for everybody to have their cars and the racing out there. So
Kieran, if I come to you for a moment, how long have you been doing this?
Probably say about the thick end of 5 years. It's my second year in the Nationals, as Mark said, it's the first time here. Absolutely love every minute of it. The paddock, the people, the cars, the smells, it's just top to bottom, it's an amazing thing to be part of. Proud to sponsor it, to be fair. Really, really proud to sponsor it, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was going to say, one of the best championships out there, certainly for action, overtaking and so forth. I mean, it's pretty addictive. I've never seen a dull Legends race anywhere, and the Nationals probably gives you the best combination of all the different iconic circuits.
Yeah, exactly. We're now, I'd probably say this is probably similar to Croft or Cardwell. It's quite tight, it's quite fast. There's technical bits, there's height, there's elevations. It's really, really good. Really enjoying ourselves this weekend.
Our thanks to the Beattie Boys and Park Lane Cars. We're ready for race 2. Gary Whiteleg in blue on the front row with Chris Needham. Row 2, Sean Smith. A gap where Will Gibson should have been. Then it's Daniel Clark and Nick Bridgman on row 3. Let's hope we can get Will Gibson into the race, possibly from pit lane. I know a lot of work going into that car, but we're ready for the second Legends race of the opening round of 2022 here at Oulton Park. Lights out now, away we go from the outside of the front row. It looks like Chris Needham is going to make the pace into the first corner. Gary Whiteleg knows this circuit well, and he in fact gets the lead on the inside, made very good use of that front row start. On board with Kieran Beattie outside, and that will switch of course as they go downhill. Amazing driving standards on the opening corners and down into Cascades. The Clark, I know, will have read the riot act to them. The drivers know how serious a racetrack this is. Nick Bridgman passed by Daniel Clark. Andy Bird goes through as well, the new lap record holder. Then it is Steve Whiteleg. Sensational start. Sean Smith is in third, and off the track goes the front row starter, Chris Needham. That's why we have the wide runoffs there. Chris Needham will rejoin at the back of the field. Huge amount of work to do. Big shame for him off the front. A chance to get some decent points. On board with Jack Parker. Jack's 2 starts, 9th on the grid in race 1. The reverse grid race was 13th, so around about mid-pack. Not a bad place to be on a circuit that has a lot of twists and turns. I guess you'd really want to be mid-pack at Cadwell Park to stand the best chance of grabbing as many points as possible. But it's Sean Smith, the leader now, from Gary Whiteleg. Then John Mickle in car number 4, the quick steel machine, putting pressure on the Bridgman Motorsport man. Great to see Gary Whiteleg back in the championship. Brother of Steve. Steve told me that he did his first go at running a car on a circuit here. Rolled a Triumph Dolomite at Cascades, believe it or not. Yeah, I know, Steve won't thank me for saying that. It is a tricky track. As Daniel Clark looks on the inside of Gary Whiteleg, Andy Bird chasing. Then it is Stephen Whiteleg, followed by Jack Parker coming through as well. In car with Steve Whiteleg. Stephen, if we're formal, bump drafting with his brother. Parker goes on the inside. Steve Whiteleg decides he's going to try and follow through on the inside line with Jack Parker to try and pass his brother. Oh, both WTBS cars getting a little bit crossed up. Nick Bridgman right in behind them as well. So Bridjo, race winner at Cadwell Park last year, is going to try a bit of bump drafting, but it's John Mickle for the lead now as Sean Smith relegated to second. Mickle the leader. Massive pack of front-running legends here. Very little to choose between any of them. A little bit of a breather from the action perhaps at the moment. Now look at them coming down here. This is just how busy the track is, and this is what the racing's all about. On board with Kieran again. Nick Bridgman up in front, and that's Charlie Budd. Spins into the barrier. A massive clout for Charlie Budd. I hope he's okay. Here's Charlie's on board, grabs the curb. That twists the car around. It looks so easy, doesn't it, when they're flying around, but just put a wheel wrong and the car's going to bite. Charlie Budd, thankfully he's okay. That's the main thing. The car is going to require work. Back to the front though. Sean Smith's back in front. John Mickle second. Andy Bird side by side with Jack Parker for third. Parker's got it at the moment. Coming into shot as well, Daniel Clark. And then Steve Whiteleg. Steve, I think, the oldest driver in the race, possibly. Or maybe his brother Gary. Here we come, down into the... Oh, there wasn't room there for Jack Parker. Gets 2 wheels. He tried that move on Nathan Anthony earlier on when Nathan gave plenty of room. But he had to put 2 wheels on the grass, so it's Sean Smith still out front from John Mickle. Jack Parker's going to have to try and pass. Well, they say that dreaded Senna quote is if there's a gap and you don't go for it, you're not a racing driver. But it wasn't quite a big enough gap, but Jack, certainly the intent was there. Look at John Mickle. That was a well thought out move. Tried the inside there. Not enough momentum to get it done before the right-hander. And Jack Parker's going to slot down, a little tap on the back of Sean Smith's car. Momentarily dislodged there, Sean Smith, but gathers it all up, doesn't lose much momentum. The momentum's going to be given back to him by bump drafting with Parker as they come through Lodge Corner once again. There's Lee Fitzpatrick running higher in this one through Dearly. Great shot back at the chrome livery of the quick steel car. Jack Parker being challenged by John Mickle, and it is still the 21 of Sean Smith out front. Smith comes into turn 1, gets it sideways, little mistake from Smith, but comes back on track, almost in front of John Mickle. Good recovery, doesn't cause any damage for anyone. I tell you what, Sean knows he made a little error there, but how quickly did he get it back on track? And he hasn't lost his focus, which is a really great sign of a good driver. Past Charlie Budd's stricken car we go once again. Looking back from Jack Parker, the quick steel car, thinking about looking on the inside at Island Bend. Jack Parker, of course, we saw use the high banking. Now this shot really gives you an idea of the banking. Great on board. I was talking about the banking at that corner early on. You could really see the gradient there. But Parker the leader, John Mickle in second place, who recovered well from that spin in race 1 as we said. Sean Smith in third. So up and over Hilltop they go. And for the moment, well, it's still close racing, but relatively settled. Parker, Mickle, Sean Smith in third. More for you after the break. So looking back from Jack Parker, the race leader, John Mickle in second. He's going to have a go again. He loves the uphill run, doesn't he, Riddle Park? The car pulling well, and he grabs the lead on the inside. Superb stuff, covers the inside of the next corner as well. As they go through Druids, the double apex corner, super move by John Mickle. Good racing as well from Jack Parker there. Still Sean Smith in third place. Andy Bird is fourth, followed by Steve Whiteleg, Marcus Pett, then Daniel Clark. Gap back then to Lee Fitzpatrick having a good run, so Lee blowing the cobwebs away after a long time away. Nathan Anthony running well too, ahead of Kieran Beattie, who's having a good run as well. Across the line they go, onto another lap. The battle for the lead. Parker explores the outside as they go into turn one. Sean Smith still there in third. Andy Bird's going to have a little look to see if he can go past. Parker is going to, I was going to say bump draft with John Mickle. There was just a little tap on, not really the place to bump draft, but just letting John know that he is there, and John quite capable of doing the same thing as Steve Whiteleg. Goes down the inside of Andy Bird, inside leg, Steve Whiteleg, and Andy Bird's got a slightly better run on the outside. There'll be more momentum there, and Andy Bird really fulfilling on the promise of the Rookie Championship title from last year. And two more cars off. Marcus Pett and Sean Smith off on the grass again. They recover, they come back on the track safely, which is good to see. Daniel Clark ahead of them. Then it's the red car further forward of Steve Whiteleg in fourth, still behind Andy Bird, who wants to try and catch up with the lead duo of John Mickle and Jack Parker. So out of Britain's, climb uphill, over hill top, and then they get a nice view. That's not a nice view. That is Will Gibson. They got the car out, so fair play to the team, but it sounds like it's not running on all cylinders. So it could be two DNFs for Will Gibson. Definitely not the way to start the season, two DNFs. And he won't need reminding of that. Apologies, Will and team. John Mickle out front, though, from Jack Parker. What a battle between these two. John 15th on the grid in race one, 8th in this one, and Jack Parker now is going to have a look, but John's got the inside covered, a little tap on the back. John not overly defensive. This is great confident driving that we're used to from him, but they'll need to look in their mirrors because Andy Bird and Steve Whiteleg are closing in as well. Parker again gets himself on the back end of the quick steel cars onto the last lap. Lapboard's telling them about their lap times and positions. They'll be more focused on the track out front. Andy Bird third, Steve Whiteleg is there in fourth place, on board with Steve again. This is the point where he rolled the Dolomite. Sorry, won't mention it again. Andy Bird's going up into second and going for the lead. What a move by Andy Bird, but he's on the outside. Could carry a bit too much speed. Bird up into second. Jack Parker down to third and coming under pressure from Steve Whiteleg. Daniel Clark's in the mix as well. In car with Steve Whiteleg as they come through Island Bend. And John Mickle under big pressure from Andy Bird here. Jack Parker's coming in the mix as well. Bird in second at the moment. Parker's got the inside as they come up to the hairpin. John Mickle with the advantage though. Turns in. Great apex from Mickle. Bird was wide, cuts across, grabs that third position from Steve Whiteleg, but Jack Parker now back up into second position. Real notice of intent from Andy Bird. The front runners in this championship know that last year's rookie is really getting to grips with the racing of the championship. It was never going to be in doubt, to be fair. Bird piling the pressure on. John Mickle, is he going to get, this could be a landmark win. I'll say no more about that at the moment as Andy Bird goes down outside. Is he going to look to the inside? No, he's focusing on the line into Hislop. Steve Whiteleg right behind him as well, and John Mickle soaking up, I think, a fair amount of pressure in this race, but he's used to it, the most experienced Legends racer in the field. This is where the car was strong. We've seen it on the last two occasions. This time, though, Parker is equal to him, tries to follow him. John pulls away. He is strong on this part of the circuit. So it's the number 4 car still there. The top 7 are all real close. If anything went slightly pear-shaped for the top 3, we could see a 7th place driver move up into the lead. That is Marcus Pett at the moment, but it's Mickle still there. Nathan Anthony's gone off in the background. I'm still looking at the winners as well. John Mickle leads into the final turn. Jack Parker is second. Andy Bird third place. Fourth position is Daniel Clark. I think that's how they're going to stay to the flag. It is going to be a landmark win. There's the checker. Mickle takes it just from Jack Parker. Andy Bird third place from Daniel Clark, and Sean Smith. Marcus Pett in 6th position from Steve Whiteleg, and then Lee Fitzpatrick a top 10, 8th place on his return to the championship in the team car. John Mickle, what a race that was. Chris Needham got the fastest lap and actually recovered from that moment off. He was last, wasn't he, at the first lap? From first on the grid, went off, but he got fastest lap and 10th place. Great recovery. Mickle, Parker, Bird, Clark, Sean Smith, Marcus Pett, Steve Whiteleg 7th from Lee Fitzpatrick and Kieran Beattie 9th. Chris Needham from last to 10th, great recovery from him. 11th, Chris Brockhurst from Nick Bridgman and Gary Whiteleg. Paul Simmons was next. Then Ollie Schlupp, top rookie from Ben Higgins, second rookie. Mark Beattie, Nathan Anthony and Luke Simmons 19th. Tom Brown in 20th. Finishes completed by John T. Norman, Robin Fountain, Bill Reid, Mike Schlupp and James Newberry.
Race 2 winner, the quick steel number 4 machine of John Mickle. John, a national and a world champion previously. Great start of the season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a busy day today. Oulton Park is always busy. Everybody comes at the gate fast, new cars, and I thought it was going to be a hard day, and it's beginning to be that way. I think we just got to run the green in the first 2 races and put the quick steel car in the right place at the right time, and little gaps keep appearing for me. So I'm definitely having the run of the green, so hopefully that can continue for the rest of the season.
Nice to see the car in the same livery. I love that livery. And now you're one of the more established drivers. Richard, John Neal and myself having a word earlier with each other, and we think that may have been your 150th win.
Really? Have I been about that long? Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, every year you think, well, is it going to be your last year? But as soon as you get back in the Legend, they're such great fun. You just want to keep driving them. But 150th win, it feels like it sometimes.
Jack, already becoming a bit of a habit this, so another one, 2 out of 2 on the podiums.
Yeah, good race. A bit further back in the last one. Started 14th. Second place, yeah. A good start to the season so far. Hopefully I can end the day well.
Good start of the season, 3rd place. I could see at that last lap there you were just making a bit of a lunge at Jack Parker, but didn't quite make it on that 2nd place.
Yeah, it was a good race, good close race. I've got the pace in the car, definitely got the pace, showed that in race 1 and race 2 coming through, but not quite enough laps.
Now, you had a bit of a dabble in Legends last year, didn't you? How did that go?
Well, yeah, I think it went pretty well. I got up to pace quite quickly, which is good. And yeah, I was passing people in my first races, so that's all you can really want. Yeah.
And that was at, I think you said Pembrey and Brands Hatch, so quite different tracks. One's completely flat, sort of an airfield, the other one's got quite a few curves and so forth. So which do you prefer?
Well, I mean, Pembrey was nice. It was good to ease into it with a nice, simple track. But then Brands, it's just more fun, more bumps, more hills. Yeah, it's more exciting.
Which in fact leads us nicely to Oulton Park. Oulton Park is a beautiful track, certainly to look at. Lots of twists and cambers and so forth. So how have you found it so far?
Well, yeah, it's a great track. I love most of the corners at least. Good racing, lots of overtaking opportunities, which is what you want really. So yeah, good track.
Now it's a busy season coming up. We've got you for the full season. 2 races down. Now race 1, we were looking at the stats. I spoke to John earlier on, and we were looking at the fact you did the most overtakes in the race, which is no mean feat in a very short time, especially with the safety car as well.
Yeah. Well, I was very pleased with that. It's nice. That's the main part of starting at the back of the grid, is as many passes as you can. So yeah, it was good to get that in there.
Ollie Schlupp has passed 29 cars so far. Remember, as a rookie, he starts in a group at the back of the grid until he's got 6 race finishes under his belt. So, certainly great training ground for him. As we go racing, it's Will Gibson and Tom Brown on the front row. They have had not the best of luck so far this weekend. Gibson, unsurprisingly, leads from the front row of the grid. Mike Schlupp and Robin Fountain on row 2. Paul Simmons and Gary Whiteleg row 3. The top scorer on the day so far, Jack Parker, chasing Chris Brockhurst and John Mickle as they go down through Cascades. Marcus Pett is to our right, and John Mickle across the track and onto the grass. Not sure what caused that. Very rare to see the quick steel car. We've got cars going on. Kieran Beattie running wide there, chasing Andy Bird. Along through Lakeview safely, there is Chris Needham in the 99 car, started 8th, which means that he was the 8th lowest scorer on the day. Will Gibson obviously with 2 DNFs, Tom Brown with a 20th and a 21st. So the lower scoring driver starting at the front in race 3. We do call it the final, but it's, remember, the driver with the most points across all 3 races that wins the trophy, that wins the day, not the final winner himself, unless they've got the biggest amount of points in the championship. Steve Whiteleg across the grass, Mark Beattie getting stuck in with him. Will Gibson the leader, Robin Fountain in second, and then Chris Needham in third place at the moment. This is great news for Will Gibson after a horrendous start to the weekend, who's checking out and disappearing up the road. Mike Schlupp is in fourth, then Miles Rudman, who started relatively near the front as well, the reigning champion, 14th on the grid, up to about fifth place for Rudman. Fourth position now for Rudman, so goodness me, how did he get through the field that quickly? Amazing stuff. Tom Brown about to be passed by Paul Simmons, so those two having a very good battle indeed. Nathan Anthony having a good day as well, and working his way through the field as we look at Charlie Budd's car, which has been put back together. That car clouted the barrier, but running well, the 44 machine. Hopefully he'll get a decent finish here. It just goes to show how robust these cars are. Bear in mind we had our 25th anniversary season the last time we covered a year in full with Legends cars, and the design has hardly changed. It was a great design to start with, and the organisers worldwide know that, so they tend to change very little on the cars. And you can see a full grid here as Mike Schlupp now has got past Robin Fountain, so Mike having a better run in the final, which is good. Robin Fountain, the 2000 champion, will chase him. Miles Rudman up into second, so are we going to see a Rudman-Gibson battle? Will Gibson up front, John Mickle trying to make up lost ground. All of the front runners seemingly, apart from Jack Parker, having some rotten luck so far today. And remember, we were starting to look at DNF statistics, and Miles Rudman on his championship year last year won DNF. Last full season we had, Miles Rudman won the championship 2019 before that, and he had 2 DNFs that year. John Mickle, 2018 champion, with 2 DNFs as well, so you could probably get away with 2 non-finishes before it started. That's exactly what Will Gibson's had before you can start to think about maybe not winning the championship. So now we're hearing there's been an issue on track, and the safety car is being scrambled. This is not good news for Will Gibson and Miles Rudman, who have built up a lead, and that is going to be negated by the safety car here at Oulton Park. They won't be too happy with that. We'll update you with the situation after the break. Well, bad news here in that the safety car has turned into a red flag, and this is why. So look at that, Lee Fitzpatrick comes back on, cannons into the 66 car, and then there's a chain reaction behind, and very sadly rollover for Andy Bird, a badly damaged car for Andy and also Tom Brown. Tom Brown's car going left of shot, Tom Brown turned around, Andy Bird rolls over. Both of those cars are in a very poor state indeed. We're told the drivers are okay, which of course is the most important news, but that is great, don't get me wrong. The fact that the drivers are okay is our primary concern, but always very disappointing and upsetting to see the damage to the cars as well. But as ever, the Legends cars have kept the drivers safe, but a lot of money and a lot of work to do for Andy Bird, sadly, and also Tom Brown. So the restart, Will Gibson had a nice lead, didn't he, in the first round? That's gone now. He's got Chris Needham right behind him. The slippery surface flag is out, understandably, just to warn the drive. They know that already, but it's another reminder for them. And a single file restart here at Oulton Park, race 3 of the first meeting of the 2022 season. Miles Rudman is third, Mike Schlupp running in 4th place. Jack Parker's made up a fair bit of ground already as top scorer in the first 2 races, as Needham goes for the lead side by side with Will Gibson. Gibson right of shot as we look at them, and it is Needham now that leads. Will Gibson in 2nd place, Miles Rudman 3rd. Those 3 already breaking clear. It's unusual to see them at the front of race 3. A reminder that the drivers who have scored the least points from the first 2 races start at the front. So it's reverse grid racing, balloted grids for the heat. So you draw your grid from the hat, or from a bag actually. A driver's briefing at the start of the day, but 2 reversed grid races followed by a 3rd race where the top point scorers start at the back. The top point scorer on the day is Jack Parker, and he is in the blue, and I think I called it yellow earlier. It's actually gold, isn't it, as we look at it there? And he's already about halfway through the point scorers, so Jack Parker making progress. We ride on board with him, Charlie Budd and Sean Smith in front of us. Sean the car, 2 cars in front here, and somebody else having a little nibble at the outside as well, possibly Steve Whiteleg, but back with the race leader Chris Needham, and Miles Rudman, the defending champion, in 3rd place. Miles was 3rd in race 1, so a podium a good way to open up his championship defence, but a non-finish in race 2. And he'll be gunning for his first win of the season in this one in the number 1 car, the menacing black number 1 of Miles Rudman. Here we come. And it's Gibson challenging for the lead again. Will Gibson, left of shot. Hasn't quite got the momentum to do it, but he's showing Chris Needham that he's keen to try and get back in. He's on the outside as they come down into turn 1. Miles Rudman is on the inside line. They cross the line now. And Rudman challenging for the lead. As we look back from Chris Needham once again. So Chris, one of the plethora of supercar races we talked about in race number 1. Rudman still in second, so Will Gibson down to third. 2 DNFs so far for Will. It was confirmed as a misfire, incidentally, in race 2. They think the chassis is not straight either after the impact in race number 1. So again, lots of rebuilding and lots of work to do for Will Gibson and the team back at their Camberley base. In car or on board with Jack Parker. Challenging Sean Smith, goes to the outside at Island Bend. Nathan Anthony in front of them. Paul Timmins immediately ahead of them as well. Here is Jack Parker's rear-facing camera. Most of the cars, you're not allowed to run a car in car unless it's from our production team. And you can, because it can look at dials and things like that. So what the drivers do is, as you can see, mount the rear-facing camera. You can pretty much mount anywhere because it's facing out of the window and not looking at any dials. And the front-facing onboards that we get from the drivers are generally mounted at the side pillar or on top of the roof, as you can see there on Chris Needham's car. Could be construed as data logging for the camera in the car, which is why they don't allow it. So Jack Parker still working his way through the field. Sean Smith, great to see Sean back in the championship full time, trying to get through and pass Paul Simmons. Is there going to be room there? Again, a superb onboard shot there, showing you the twists and turns of Cadwell and how it can narrow up. Parker just taking his time, trying to pick off car by car. Want to try and score the most now as Miles Rudman goes through on the inside. Rudman goes through, a little bit of rear end there as he went through, so had perhaps a bit more momentum than he would have ideally liked, but he needed that to make the move complete. He goes through into the lead. The reigning champion leads. Rudman leads. Chris Needham second. Will Gibson still there in the 57 car in third place, racing as ever in memory of his late brother Tim. So coming down through Cascades once again. The top 3 have got clear, so what we don't want for the top 3 is another safety car or indeed a red flag. Needham having been passed, again this shows you that Legends, if you get past you can come back on. These cars are very evenly matched, and Chris Needham coming back, that's where he went off earlier in race number 2. A really good recovery from last up into 10th place and fastest lap. Will Gibson still with him as well. A great shot again of the banking into the setting sun, or lowering sun here at Oulton Park as they come down towards Britain's once again. And there you get an idea of the gap back to 4th position, which is Mike Schlupp, running really well at the moment. Mike ahead of the group. Mike's not had a fantastic day today, 19th and 24th places, so he'll be gunning for a top 10 here. John Mickle with the quick steel car, his teammate closing in on the Beattie brothers, working his way through the field. So Schlupp up ahead of Nathan Anthony, who gets tagged, I think, there by Sean Smith, under braking, coming into the hairpin. There we go, schmozzle between the 3 cars, and Nathan should recover, not as quick as he would like, but he has nonetheless recovered ahead of Matt Isherwood, who won race 1, his first ever race with. That's a team car, incidentally, Matt Isherwood's car. The other team car we've got in the meeting this weekend is Lee Fitzpatrick in the 55, and so we'll see both of those cars driven by other drivers. It's the car that scores the points rather than the driver in terms of the overall championship. Miles Rudman still the race leader. Chris Needham second, Will Gibson third. Gap back to the group we can see in the distance as Kieran Beattie tries the inside on Robin Fountain, who kicks up the smoke screen in the face of Chris Brockhurst, who is there. Across the line the leaders go on to the last lap, and Chris Needham here is, I think, he's a couple of lengths back at the moment on Miles Rudman, and then maybe the same again, back to third place, Will Gibson. Nice to see Will back to form. In terms of championship DNFs, he will be mindful that for the last 3 seasons, 2 DNFs is the most that anybody's had in terms of a championship record as Miles Rudman in 2019. So Needham, in fact, has caught up a little bit on Miles Rudman. The cars are going to be stronger on different points of the circuit. The onboard camera, in fact, accentuates that again. Is Miles Rudman going to grab his first win? If he does, it'll be 3 different race winners today, and that's a really healthy state of affairs for Legends Racing to have once again. Through Britain's up to Hilltop for the last time, Chris Needham. Now, if his car's set up the same way John Mickles was, he might be strong up Clay Hill. The moment they're coming down from Hilltop into Hislops, then they'll go down through Knickerbrook, up into Clay Hill, then Druids. But Miles Rudman, to me, I don't think I've ever seen Miles Rudman look under pressure, and it's certainly not the case now. Even if Chris Needham was on his back bumper, you'd see Miles Rudman driving with his head and not being too flustered. He's that kind of character. Uphill we go, under the footbridge again. Needham, that is a gap. Miles Rudman surely has got this one sewn up. Will Gibson is getting close to second though, and that is far from settled, although it is actually closer, isn't it? From the outfield cameras, you can see that Needham is closing in. Will Gibson closing in on second place as well. And Gibson on the outside run here. Chris Needham on the inside. Will make it around the outside. And a lock-up from the 99 car. Was that a brake problem for him? Gibson across the dirt. Chris Needham is sideways across the track. It's a good job there wasn't a massive pack behind him as Miles Rudman takes the win. Congratulations, Miles. Will Gibson is second. A terrific recovery from a disappointing start to the meeting for Will Gibson. Now, who's going to get third? The 99 car gets going, but through on the inside goes Marcus Pett with Jack Parker. So it's Marcus Pett inheriting the podium. You've got to be there to do it. He does it. So it's Miles Rudman, Will Gibson, Marcus Pett third, Jack Parker fourth from Sean Smith, then Chris Needham, Paul Simmons and Steve Whiteleg, Charlie Budd in 9th place from Nick Bridgman, who completes the top 10. Miles Rudman there on the last lap also got the fastest lap of the race, and that, leaving the first meeting of the season, the disappointment of race 2 will be put behind him, because he knows now he's got a race-winning car again and a fastest lap. Not a lap record, but anyway, there's the top 10, which I've already given you. Rudman, Gibson, Pett, Parker, Smith, Needham, Simmons, Whiteleg, Budd, Bridgman. 11th was Mike Schlupp from his son Ollie Schlupp, then Kieran Beattie and Rob Fountain. Matt Isherwood 15th from Nathan Anthony and Daniel Clark. 18th Lee Fitzpatrick. 19th Luke Simmons from John T. Norman in 20th, and John Mickle completing the finishers in 21st. A lot of non-finishers there, very, very sadly. Let's catch up with our race winner.
Miles, great way to end the weekend. Just go back slightly to race 2. What happened in that one?
Yeah, so we had a electrical misfire in race 2, so we wasn't able to start the race really. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing, but it's sort of been giving us grief all weekend. So yeah, unfortunately for race 2, it was that bad we couldn't even start the race. So back to the garage and have a look and managed to fix it for the final.
Thankfully, we had a little bit more time between race 2 and race 3 to allow for that. So anyway, back to that race, first place again. So overall, the weekend's been pretty successful.
Yeah, it's not been too bad. Obviously, it would have been better to have a finish in race 2, but yeah, a win and a third's a pretty decent weekend to be fair. So yeah, really happy with the result.
That was a good finish.
Yeah, it made up for a horrible start to the day. We had a big crash in the first race, which was my fault, and then we had an electrical issue in the second race, which cut that one short. But yeah, car's a bit of a mess. Big thank you to all our sponsors for helping us. We're going to need them to help get the budget together to do the next few rounds. Blue Sky CAD, TWG Automotive. Yeah, massive thank you to them. Yeah, it's a lot of work for brands now.
The round winner here at Oulton Park is Jack Parker, and he leads the championship from Marcus Pett and Sean Smith in third. Fourth, with a DNF under his belt, is Miles Rudman. Steve Whiteleg in fifth from John Mickle. Thanks for your company. We'll see you at Brands Hatch.